lonesome road set my soul on fire. Thinking back before I left, the passions I desire. Can you help me anymore?
You quit before the best part.
Once again, I apologize for turning that down so we could jump into our program here. Well, hello out there. Good to see you all out there. And welcome to episode number 5 of our second season.
Wow.
We're racking them up, Yorma, as the time just keeps going, moving on and on.
It sure does.
But we're still getting our podcasts in, one every month, third Saturday of the month. So you could tune in live for that. But always remember that all of these podcasts are being cached on our Fur Peace Ranch YouTube channel. So you could always get there. And if you've missed some from last year, anyone's, there's never a bad time to pick up on them because we got a different subject most every episode. Sometimes we got so much to talk about, there are 2 episodes for talking about something like when we were talking about bathing at Baxter's. There was so much involved in that podcast. We had to do a two episode thing. But anyhow, yeah, so check it out. Well, Yorma, good to be here with you again. Here we are. We had a great last bus tour last month.
We did.
And boy, I hope you enjoyed it at least 3/4 as much as me because I know you'd be thrilled. It was such a wonderful time, and making it across this great country of ours, all the way from Austin, Texas, up to northern Michigan, Ironwood, Michigan. Our last show,
Right up there in Lake Superior. We've had to correct people because the last tour no, you didn't listen to the whole thing. It's the last bus tour.
Yes. Plus, I want to say it did say last bus tour 2026. Because see, this gives us an out because in 2027,
that's true. Loophole.
You might loophole, and that way, you know, we keep that open. But what a great time it was, and I got to tell you, I had such a super time with you. But all these years of you touring like that, or you know, a month at a time in a tour bus, I could see you wanting to dial it back a little bit, you know. But yeah, anybody that a couple of the places, they, is this the last tour? We had to let them know, Yorman's not giving up touring. It's too much a part of his life. What keeps you young is this music and stuff. So, but maybe just not a month on a tour bus.
Maybe not.
Yeah. But anyhow, we were glad to do it, and we had a lot of fun. And it was nice to be up in Ironwood, Michigan, where your father was born.
That's
because
correct.
We want to thank again our hosts, Vic and Zona, that we had a wonderful time with. And you got to get a drive around and see like the old library and some of the things you remember when you were up there visiting with your father and stuff.
Yeah, my dad learned to speak English in that
library?
In that library, yeah.
Wow, yeah. And you want to remind me again, when was your dad born?
When?
What year?
1910.
And you say he was there till he was 13 or something?
Yeah, they moved to LA in 23. Actually, I think they left, a lot of the stuff is sort of lost in the mist of time, but I think at some point they went to San Francisco and they went to Phoenix and then back to Ironwood and ultimately East LA.
LA, yeah. Well, it sure was a pretty area up there. It was really nice. We had a good time.
Yeah.
I know she didn't wear your Stormy.
You want to say Stormy Daniels, I know.
No,
you
it's
do.
not. It's not though. What is it, Yorma? What's it say on my logo?
Stormy Cromer.
Stormy Cromer, yeah.
And the only reason I didn't is because I forgot it.
Okay. I thought you didn't want to mess up that hair because it looks so good.
We would
today.
have. I have the same color as you do. We would have been twinning.
It would have been happening, man. It would have been happening.
The fine hat, a very fine hat.
Yeah, I was glad to pick one up there. It was a real nice place. Well, we just had a great time, and Yorma, today, a lot of the program today, we're going to catch up on questions that people have been sending in. We do appreciate you sending in your questions ever since we started putting that up there in the last couple episodes. You have any questions you want me to fire by Yorma here? John, John, at furpeaceranch.com. And we'll see if we can't get to it. But Yorma, we're going to cut into some questions today. And
that's a pile of questions.
Yeah, we got a pile of questions, and I got some surprise stuff for you at the end of the program to put in there. But anyhow, the After Bathing at Baxter's episodes drew a lot of comments. People loved us talking about that, and as I told you at the time when we were doing it, you know, I don't want to say it was overlooked in my listening experience over the last few years. Even though when I was younger, I listened to a lot and stuff, but when we were talking about doing this the podcast and I started listening to it, and, getting refamiliarized with it. And what a great record it is, groundbreaking really in so many ways. But the comments that came in were much along the same way. People talking about Bo Baxter's what blew the doors open for me. That was my favorite Jefferson Airplane record. So we hit a good spot on that.
It certainly,
record.
in many respects, I think was our most, well, at the time, experimental.
Mm-hmm. It was an ambitious product.
It was,
for sure. Yeah.
Well, and we had unlimited time in the studio. A lot of that stuff, you just kind of have to waste studio time until the finger of inspiration flicks you in the head.
You have to marinate it a little bit. I know. You got to give it a little bit of time. Yeah. Well, you really hit it on that record there, and as I say, the comments coming in from people they're really happy we were talking about what a great record it was. So a couple things did come up from this after bathing at Baxter's. One fellow said that there was a songbook for that, and he wondered who would have transcribed something like that. He questioned, would Jack do something like that because he understood Jack could read music, or would that be something where RCA would hire someone to do that?
I don't know if Jack could sight read. The simple answer to that question is I really don't know. Jack had been doing a lot of the kind of gigs in D.C. before he left that probably would have requested. I don't know if he was reading, fake books or reading sheet music. I don't really know. No, they would have hired somebody to do that.
That's what they had asked. Would that be something RCA would do?
Oh, RCA didn't put that out.
No. Okay.
Yeah. But in those days also, you kind of had to have, in order to copyright stuff, you had to have somebody write it out.
So probably like one of the companies that put out the book, the songbook.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Yoram. All right. Another question that come up here is, fellow was talking about Martha, one of the, I think, track number 4 on the record. He said not only is it his favorite song from the After Bathing at Baxter's, but it may be one of his favorite songs of all time. And he had a couple questions about this. First off is, who is Martha? Who does that refer to?
So, Martha Wax was, her father was mayor of Sausalito at the time, and she was a runaway. And her sidekick, his name was Girl. Actually, her girl's real name was Julia Dreyer. She just passed away recently. Had a really interesting life. I have no idea what happened to Martha. And, they just kind of got taken under the wing by the Jefferson Airplane as a family. Immediately, of course, when people hear stuff like that, they presume immediately that they were being taken advantage of. This was not the case whatsoever. Mm-hmm. They just had a safe place to go. We had the airplane mansion, and they had a safe place to spend time, and et cetera, et cetera.
All right.
Yeah. But anyway,
what an honor to do a song and name it after her, because it is such a beautiful song.
It's a cool song. It's a cool song.
It really is. Yeah. And the questionnaire also asked if you recall the making of the Martha video. And do you know what I'm talking about with that?
I have no recollection whatsoever.
Okay. Well, it's really interesting because I went and checked it out, and
there is such a thing?
Yes, and it kind of almost looks like an official video, like the label would do or something. But let me give you a little reminder of things and see if you remember anything of it. A lot of it looked like it was filmed like in a park kind of setting. You guys were like hiding behind trees. You were leading the run down a hill at one point, and they're all running behind you.
Actually, I do remember that. I think that's done in Griffith Park in L.A. Yeah, okay. I didn't realize that was it's a lifetime ago. That was for a Martha video, but I do remember that. Yeah, that was done in L.A.
Yeah, and it is really cool how they film in on each of you guys separately. Like coming into headshots in a little bit, and then there's it's like goofy fun, like kind of like the Beatles did with Magical Mystery Tour type thing.
Hard Day's Night.
Or Hard Day's Night. You guys are chasing down a hill one time. I have to say, buddy, I got to give you credit. You were leading the pack, man.
Always.
They were all trying to catch up with you. You were the fastest going down the hill. And so it was kind of cool, but you guys are up in trees, and then at one point, they're looking behind the trees and stuff. And
I got to say, the Beatles actually, I think, were inspirational for a lot of that stuff because they were in that game.
Yeah.
Before we were, although we played on a roof in New York City before they did.
Yep, there you go, buddy. There you go. Well, anyhow, at some point, So you think Griffin Park, huh? That could
Griffith Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may want to check that out someday and look at the video to see how it turned out. It is really pretty cool.
Wonder if that tree is still there.
I hope so. That's all I can say. All right, another question that regarding the After Bathing at Baxter's was the young girls' Sunday blues. And there was a question if some of that was not from a live recording. And I do remember reading about that in the Baxters. That's a couple of the songs did come
from live recordings.
Live recordings.
Well, obviously we couldn't get a take we liked in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And again, sad to say, I wish I had more technical memory about this. I don't. I would suspect that they used the live band track as a basic and overdubbed the vocals, but that's just.
Is that something that would be common back at that time?
Well, it was certainly common at the time that Hot Tuna did that double dose.
Mm-hmm.
On none of the vocals that are on there are from the session. They're all overdubbed.
So so you're able to isolate the music portion out.
Right. I mean,
and then sing.
It's all multi-track when they're recorded, so. Yeah. You know, and of course in those days there probably was some leakage into the instrument mics, but, you know, if you didn't know, you probably wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
That was Felix Pappalardi's thing.
Okay. Well, this is a fun question, Yorm, and it also just shows you how far-reaching our podcast is becoming, because this letter came from a man from France. And he wanted to first tell us how much he's enjoying the podcast, but he wonders if the last bus tour is planning to hit Europe, because he would like to see that. And I have to say, I'm not sure if it will, but
yeah,
it sounds like a good idea to me.
I mean, you know, in a perfect world, that would be a wonderful thing to do, because obviously we love to do that. But I remember we just never really made a lot of money when we went to Europe, even though we always had a great time. You were with us on a couple trips, so you remember that.
Yep.
Man, good food, good friends, the whole deal.
Beautiful countryside.
It's just not financially feasible right now, I don't think. But that being said, you know, we're still alive at kicking, so never say never.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, here is the second part of his question, which is a little more a solid thing. He says that.
I wish I could see that. We're getting secret messages here.
Budapest.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Yes. Okay, Yarma.
Thanks, Vanessa. Okay, so yes. So to back up, belay 90% of that conversation.
So let me ask you, Yarma, there may not be a last bus tour, but there may be a boat tour.
There may be a boat tour up the Danube, yes.
Well, tell the people about this.
Well, what year is that, Vanessa?
2027.
May of 2027. You and Jack, exclusive. There are only 20 cabins left. And they can go to the hottuna.com website and reserve a cabin. Shows.
Food.
Excellent.
You don't have much time to be a part of it.
Yeah, actually, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, that says a lot that there's only 20 cabins left.
All the goulash you can eat.
All the goulash, boy, you can't beat that. Yes, so anyhow, it's good we're putting that out there, so our listeners will realize that. And you can always check this out on Yorma's website, yormakalkinen.com, because not only will he have all the information up there, but also the links and stuff. And this is also on the hottuna.com site. So both of those sites can bring you along, and it may not be the last boat tour either. Who knows?
Well. Because it's on a river, we won't have that up and down, back and forth.
Yeah. I've never really been a cruise person. I'm a ground person, but I got to tell you, my dad's friend Nancy and my sister did that same kind of cruise you're doing.
Yeah.
And they said being the smaller boat where it's not thousands of people and all that stuff made for a real nice experience. So, and it's just you and Jack, right? I mean, it's no other bands, which is nice. You know, it's an exclusive Hot Tuna.
Yeah, you get to eat at the captain's table, listen to his jokes.
Boy, oh boy, that's worth the price right there, you know. Well, anyhow, the question, Yorma, from this man from France was that you've played with many different drummers. And thoughts on, and also, what do you look for in a drummer. And as I don't need to remind you, but even with Hot Tuna, you've gone through a lot of different drummers. What do you see? And I guess the Airplane was pretty much Spencer until toward the end there. But
right. Well, there are a number of drummers after Spencer, but hang on to your thought there.
yeah, yep.
I mean, when I think about drummers with the Airplane, we had a number of really great drummers, but Spencer was the man. He's the one that helped define the sound. You know, the rhythm section in any band is the one that really defines the sound. So with the work that Spencer, Jack, and Paul did together, in my opinion, really defined the Airplane sound in what I like to think about as the crucial years.
Yep, yep. Well, how about as far as what do you look for as far as a drummer thing, or is that?
Okay, that's a good question. So with Hot Tuna, it was always somebody we didn't have to rehearse with too much, and I know you were trying not to laugh when I said that, but I remember when we, gosh, I mean, like when we met Sammy, he was drumming with Dry Creek Road, as I recall, and next thing you know, he was the Hot Tuna drummer, and as time went on, I think we met Steeler. Steeler's girlfriend was. We met him. I guess his lady friend at the time was a friend of ours. Hey, you got to meet this guy Bob. I hear you're looking for a drummer. I remember Bob came to my house on Yerba Buena Avenue in a Volkswagen, carried all his drums into the living room by himself at one time, and I thought, well, I guess you're going to be our drummer. Oh, and then we played also.
Yeah, that's a good start, though. You know, that's a good sign for you. Yeah, you know, I didn't really think about that, but after Spencer Dryden, you did go through a couple more drummers.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Johnny Barbada is at the end, like I think he's on 30 Seconds Over Winterland.
Right, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but
now, I remember at the time, Paul. I mean, you look back at it, you know. Again, like I said, I think Spencer was the quintessential drummer for the band. But I remember Paul was looking for a heavier hitter. Spencer just really, you know, he was somewhat physically frail. He really wasn't into touring that much anymore, and that's just how it was.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right, Yorma. All right, next question here, Yorma. The question comes along with talking about the Paradise Found record that you did for Epic CBS, I guess, right? And he mentions how much he enjoys the record, but a lot of times it's one of the least mentioned of the Hot Tuna catalog.
Right.
How did that session come together?
So that session came together in the backwash of the Jefferson Airplane album.
The reunion album.
For the reunion album for the same record company. Help me here, Vanessa. Record company.
Columbia. Oh.
Epic?
No.
Well, Epic was part of the Columbia.
Yeah.
CBS. So
anyway.
What, so
for
Paradise Found.
that was Epic?
That was Epic. Yeah.
That was Epic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I can see that yellow label.
Yeah. So we got that, picked that up as sort of in the backwash of the Airplane reunion thing, and it was an interesting album. You know, we hadn't really been touring heavily together at that time, and we didn't have like a backlog of new material that we've been collecting. So it was kind of like a pedal to the metal. Let's put this thing together. We got some really talented people to play on it, listening to it after the fact. Like I said, it's not as organic as Tuna tends to be, but I think it's a really good album. We had some great players on it.
I agree with it, and the songs as well. And the Eve of Destruction was kind of an interesting thing to have on there. And I think, doesn't Rick Danko do background vocals with you on that? I believe
he
that's
did.
the case.
I believe he did. May he rest in peace. Yeah.
You know, that may be something at some point, as we've been going through the Airplane records, that we'll look at some of the Hot Tuna records in the same way, a track by track thing, because there are some very, very cool songs. And I have to agree with this man that a lot of times that is an overlooked Hot Tuna record. And
again, I'm surmising because, as I say, it's the whole Hot Tuna thing, I think, exudes organic qualities, because that's just the way Jack and I have been since the first time. And that one's a little more architected, but again, like we've been saying here, I think it's a good record. There's some cool stuff on it.
Yeah.
You know, sad to say, there's a bunch of the cool songs on that were almost unreplicatable in person with the band lineups that we tend to play with.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, right, because you had so much involved in it.
but that's why everybody that's looking at us and listening to us now needs to, in some way, buy, download, find a vintage copy.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I got it on vinyl, but it was very hard to find. I think it was a French import type thing.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
But yeah, what a great record it was. And on that record, again, following up on this question from our listener, that Michael Falzerano is on that record very prominently as a songwriter and stuff. And you have a little bit of time to talk about Michael. And they asked, if you're playing with him anymore and how Michael is. Anything to bring us up to date? I know Michael stays very active with different bands.
Yeah, Michael is hugely active. He's got that
English Town Project.
English Town Project. Michael's always doing something. So Michael is just a really, really old friend of mine. And the way we met was my former wife, Margaretta, had a really expensive salon habit. She was always getting her hair dyed this color, that color, etc. And we used to go to this store, the shop at the corner of Broadway and what's that main street that runs down?
Columbus?
Yeah, Columbus, Broadway and Columbus, called Mr. Broadway, strangely enough.
There you go.
And in that shop in that time, in the water cooler, they had wine.
Wow.
Yeah, I think this was the Quaalude era or something like that in San Francisco.
You hope
Anyway,
your hair cutter isn't indulging too much.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry about that ear. Yeah.
But anyhow, so the gal that was the reception there was Claudia, who became Claudia Falzerano. And while Margaretta was getting her hair done, Claudia was a very outgoing person. We'd shoot the shit. And she goes, "My boyfriend's coming out from Long Island. You're really going to like him." And her boyfriend, now her husband, father of their daughter, who happens to be my goddaughter also, but anyway, came out. We just became friends. We started playing music together and just having a good time. Michael's a really interesting cat. He brings a lot to the table. He's very, very creative, a great lyricist.
I was going to say, great songwriter.
A great songwriter.
Indeed, he had a lot of the songs on that Paradise Found.
Yeah.
He had several of the big ones on there as well.
And a heck of a good guy.
I agree with that, boy. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to talk about Owsley the Bear. And we had talked about before we were them. And I believe we did mention this in our last podcast, but I do want to mention again, that has now become available on vinyl. And, of course, the Fur Peace Ranch Company store is stocking it, as well as the River of Time Boutique. And how cool, because it was CD only for the longest time, so now it has been released as a double LP set. Nice. And of course, you and I being vinyl lovers, it's nice to see it get the vinyl treatment and stuff, and has nice liner notes you and Jack have put in there and stuff. So a real cool project. But anyhow, going back to that, they wonder if there's any other releases possible that might be coming. That when Bear had this recording, and I know it's his family, the foundation that's releasing this stuff, they had that recording there. Is there anything else in the vault that you see coming down the road?
Honestly,
like
at this moment, not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean that they don't have a bunch of stuff that either they haven't thought about releasing yet or they haven't discovered yet. Bear, he just recorded so much stuff, thank goodness, Yeah,
it is really fantastic. When you look at this stuff like years later like this, and you think, thank God remember just the other day you came in and you were talking to Ian and me about that Elizabeth Cotton song.
Yeah.
And you said, you got to see this.
The Washington Blues.
The Washington
thing.
Blues.
Yeah.
And we pulled it up on the computer and watched that, and you think, boy, how lucky someone was recording this like over 60 years ago, 70 years ago in that case almost.
Since we just reminded me about that, we should tell our listeners that like that stuff, you need to go to YouTube and you need to look up Elizabeth Cotton. As if Elizabeth Cotton has been a part of my lexicon of those kind of guitar players since she was still alive. Mm-hmm. Two-finger picker, really interesting guitar player. And when you see that Elizabeth Cotton Washington Blues, it's a really complicated rag. It's like, I had no idea.
Yeah, and it blows my mind seeing her playing that guitar backwards. That type.
That's such a.
I mean, for someone that plays the other way, you look and go, how did you?
Yeah, where her fingers does what a thumb would normally do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's really something.
But it doesn't sound weird. No,
it doesn't.
And that makes it even more weirder.
But I tell you, you're right. That YouTube thing, it is so nice that things are there that you could go out and check. Again, here the question is that he saw Hot Tuna with Bob Steeler at the Concord Pavilion, and he said Bear was there doing sound or at least involved with it. And was he a sound man for you or Hot Tuna at some point, or was it a peripheral thing?
No. I'm guessing, and this is a complete guess because to get the chronology right this far down the road is difficult. It was probably Ultrasound that was doing sound. Don Pearson, Howard Danchek, probably, I'm thinking. However, Bear, they did sort of really, the stuff he did with the Grateful Dead is kind of like the foundation of modern sound systems that we use today. Anytime Bear was around, whether he was quote unquote doing sound or not, he always insinuated himself into the, if I may mix my metaphors, into the mix.
So if he wasn't doing it, he was involved.
He was definitely getting his fingers on the board, yeah.
Yeah, well, very cool. This is a non-musical question, but always good to touch different things. This guy must know something about your past. He said you had a Lotus Europa and an Elon. Did you have a favorite? And then, second part of the question, why did you get rid of the Elon?
So, I got the Lotus. There was a car dealer on Van Ness Avenue in San Francisco called British Motors. And they had all these cool imported cars and stuff like that. The Lotus Europa just looked so cool. It was rear engine, all fiberglass. Colin Chapin, the guy that started the Lotus company, his sort of like unspoken motto was he would never put anything in a car unless it made it lighter. The Lotus Europa just weighed next to nothing. They were rally cars in Europe and stuff. I got it just simply because it looked cool. Now that being said, the Lotus Europa that I got of that era, the windows didn't go down and there's no air conditioning.
Wow.
Like I said, anything that did make the car go fast and make it lighter was not in that car. And so it was, not that it gets really hot in San Francisco, but it does sometimes. Anyway, it just wasn't a very practical car. And then I saw the Lotus Elan, which, my daughter's Subaru's got more horsepower than that thing did. But, but in those days, it was like a 1,200, 1,300 pound car that had a 140 horsepower motor. It was a pretty fast little car, little convertible, and I got it, and I really loved it, and I had it for a while, really enjoyed it, and then I fell in love with this Maserati Ghibli that somebody had turned in down at British Motors, so I traded it in, and I had that. It turned out to be a hugely impractical car. Largely because when something went wrong with it, which was frequently, if you weren't in San Francisco near the exotic car dealers, you couldn't get it fixed. I remember I was driving down to Santa Cruz. It was one of those rare days on the northern Pacific coast where it's warm, I had the top down, and something happened. I don't remember what it was. And I pulled into this gas station in Half Moon Bay. And I remember we opened the hood and the guy looked at this motor and just started laughing.
Wow.
So I limped back, and this time I went to the Chevy dealer and traded it in on a 72 Corvette LT1, which I really liked. Had a 350 motor in it, 411 rear end, not really practical for the road, but that's what I wanted at the time, manual 4-speed. And I had that for about 6 months until it got stolen from the front of my house.
Yeah.
I heard it drive up the street. And by the time the cops got there, they thought it's already been chopped and taken apart.
Wow.
So after So after that, with the insurance, I got a secondhand '69 Camaro 396 SS. I like V8s.
I see you also like race cars.
I like cars.
Like fast
yeah.
cars, yeah.
Hey, but the way things are going these days, that would have been a fast car back in those days, but in these days, my daughter's Subaru is probably just as fast.
That's funny. That's funny to think that. So was that those Lotus and things you tool around San Francisco, or could you go on a longer trip?
I went on a bunch of long trips with him. I
Okay.
remember, I remember one time. I never really paid much attention to the weather report. I remember one time, my ex-wife Margaret and I decided we were going to go to the Southwest or something, and in order to get there from San Francisco, I had to cross a couple mountain ranges. It was in winter. I remember driving on some mountain somewhere between San Francisco and New Mexico with like 6 inches of snow on the ground in this Lotus Elan. It was about this high off the ground.
Boy, oh boy.
The
Did you
good
make
news-
it?
Well, we're having the conversation, so the answer is yes, but yeah.
Yeah. More fun than practical in some cases.
Crazy stuff.
And all right, Yorma. Someone here is asking, what is the story behind the song Man's Fate? And is it a nod to Steve Mann?
It is a nod to Steve Mann, and Steve. There's a couple players in the United States. Mary Flowers is one, and his cat Raleigh out east that is a great guitar player that can play Steve Mann stuff. Steve had this lick, and the lick just inspired the lick in Man's Fate. All the all that stuff. That's just parallel fifths that I've been messing with, and I turned it into a song. But the little lick was inspired by Steve. It didn't replicate anything he did, but what was that?
A stink bug,
A stink bug, and now it flew away. Look at that. Well,
If he
thanks.
lands on you again,
Just
I'll
whack-
put him outside.
Yeah, just whack it. Whack me.
That's better than the time you had the wasp on your back.
Well, that's a lot better.
A lot better.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, so it was inspired by Steve Mann. And since we're talking about Steve, our viewers and listeners should really owe it to themselves to really see if they can. You can probably get it on YouTube, but I think you can buy it also, to get Steve Mann's Live at the Ash Grove.
Yeah. I think that record's kind of a collectible piece. if you
The
can get
record's
it.
collectible, it
Yeah.
is. But I think you can download it. And that and the record he made that Dick Rossmini wrote, the liner notes for Straight Life. But the Live at the Ash Grove, that's like, wow.
That's the one.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, Yorm. Boy, those stink bugs, you just touch them.
Did it stink? Get,
No, I'm not kidding. You just touch them. You just touch
smell my hand.
Wait a second. At least you didn't ask me to smell your finger, thank God. But anyhow, Yorma, we touched base on this next question in season 1, but we retouch on it because it's go a little further. The question is, did you ever play with Eric Clapton, and that you share some of the same love for some of those traditional blues songs? They're studying Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out.
Sure.
The San Francisco Bay Blues,
Right.
and the How Long Blues.
The classics, yeah.
And so the question is a couple-part question here, Yorma, so I'll fire it all to you at first. Have you ever had a chance to play with Eric Clapton? And of the blues great guitar players, that considered some of the great blues guitar players, is there any one of the living guitar players that you'd like to play with? And if you had a chance to go back to blues guitar players, going back in history, someone that might not be alive now, is there someone you would have loved to play with?
So yeah, I've always been a Clapton fan. I really admire his work, and the stuff he did with Cream when they transliterated mostly acoustic blues into the electric stuff. I don't think anybody's ever done it better, in my opinion. Really great guitar player. I mean, heck, if he felt like sitting down playing some acoustic guitar, it'd be fun.
I think it's something we should get your management team working
Maybe.
on, because I could
Maybe.
see this being a great, bringing the two different countries together, the UK and the US, for this great record.
But I think one of the other players that is still playing better than ever, that I was a huge fan of, an electric player, was Buddy Guy.
Sure.
I mean, when I first heard Buddy, man, he just. There's so many great blues guitar players and stuff, and I hate when people say, "How would you rank so and so?" That's such bullshit,
It's hard to do, too.
It's impossible. It's like
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but yeah, I mean, Eric's work over the years, it's really been monumental on a lot of levels. Well, I got sidetracked here. Was there?
So
a beat?
interestingly enough, Yorma, it's interesting because I think Clapton also cites Buddy Guy as like one of his inspirational guitar players.
Yeah.
Buddy was quite
Oh
young
yeah,
at that
Buddy,
point.
right up.
Yeah,
I remember when we saw him at. He played The Matrix the first time he came, and I remember some distant relative of Jimmy Reed, A.C. Reed.
Oh yeah,
the sax player was
yes.
dating one of my ex-wife's friends. Is that what they call it?
I think so. I think that's a nice way of putting it.
But man, what a player! His energy and stuff like that, and if you've seen that great movie Sinners, you've seen Sinners, right?
I haven't, but you told
What?
me I've got to see it. And I know Buddy Guy's music's also there.
Well, no, Buddy's music is not in it, but Buddy is.
Buddy's in it?
Yeah, at the very end. You gotta say, I don't want to spoil the plot.
You just did.
He makes a cameo appearance in the end,
Okay.
and he plays this little.
So he does play a little something.
A little something, yeah.
All right, so we're looking at Buddy Guy as far as a great living blues guitar player. The second part of that question, was there anybody that is gone by at this point that you thought, boy, I wish I'd get to play with him or something like that?
Oh, so we could talk about a lot of fingerstyle guitar players, and people always go, "Did you ever jam with Reverend Davis?" And the answer is, nobody jams with Reverend Davis. I'm sure some people did, but his style is so complete. It's just
hard to fit in there.
It's right, exactly. And why would you want to?
Right.
When you can listen to him.
Right.
So yeah, I guess. I guess the jam question would be in a situation where there's a more traditional kind of lineup, and I wish Mike Bloomfield was still alive, so we could. So
That would be
the
very,
me that
very
knows
cool.
what I know today could play with the him that knew what he knew back then.
That would be very neat.
I miss Mike.
That
He
would
was a
be
good
that'd
guy.
be very neat.
That would be a good thing. Yeah.
All right, Norma. That's a great answer there. All right, we talked about the Barbecue King record.
Barbecue King.
He's coming to
He's
town.
coming to town.
We talked about that in one of our last episodes, and we talked about the vital parts. The question is, he remembers seeing you at the old Waldorf.
Your friend came back.
This guy's a freeloader. Oh, there he goes again. He's.
Not quick enough, Vanessa.
We could have caught him. We'll let him fly Jeff's airplane. It gets you there on time.
I should have brought a shotgun over.
Yeah, but you'd blow out the light.
Where will we get the bug?
Oh boy. Anyhow, if he comes back again, we will. What does the Dalai Lama say? Brush it away 2-3 times, and then.
Wheel of time. Yeah.
Anyhow, boy, smell. Anyhow,
Don't get me
back
started.
to the vital parts.
Yes,
the
vital
Barbecue King. He saw you at the old Waldorf, and the band was called White Gland. He says bass player was it begins with a D.
Danny DeGorio?
Danny, right? Danny.
Denny.
Denny.
Danny DeGoria.
Yeah, and Bob Steeler was playing drums.
That's correct.
And it was a trio type thing. Where did the name White Gland come from?
Oh, just off the walls.
Was it just a short time lived thing?
Oh, very short, yeah.
So you didn't really do any heavy touring with the White Gland?
Oh, we didn't tour at all.
Okay, all right. So just kind of put
We might
together.
have gone somewhere and played. We didn't really tour. Yeah, Denny. I guess Denny passed away in Austin within the last couple of years, and really talented guy.
So where does this fit in your chronology with Hot Tuna?
Oh, it's during the hiatus years.
Okay. So Bob Steeler, did he come to Hot Tuna after this?
Yes.
Okay, so he come along with that.
Oh, wait a minute now. No,
No.
Bob would have been in there first.
Okay, so
Oh, I remember. So yeah, Bob was in there first. Hot Tuna hiatus, and Bob was playing with the Offs.
okay,
And Denny was the bass player of the Offs.
okay. So it made
What kind of bass was he playing? You wouldn't know.
No.
It was a Gibson Thunderbird.
Oh, interesting. All right.
I had a Gibson Firebird.
Your memory, you always have such a good memory remembering all this old stuff.
We'll see about that.
We just won't ask you what you had for breakfast. All right. Well, one of our dear listeners dear to us because he was also a great Fur Peace Ranch student, Chris Babby from Canada, has written.
Hey, Chris.
And he's telling us that he's loving the podcast, which we always love to hear. He also loved how we took the After Bathing at Baxter's and went through it, so finely, going over everything like that. And he can't wait for us to do Crown of Creation, which we'll get to at some point. And it's funny because the other listeners, Yorma, have written and said they loved how we did the After Bathing at Baxter's, as we've already done with the Surrealistic Pillow, and we did Bark in our first season. But people a lot of times will say that Crown of Creation and The Blessed's Pointed Little Head are their favorite records, and I thought at some point we'll go through those two records as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But anyhow, okay. Do you have talking about Crown of Creation, any comment as far as that record being the follow-up, what you guys were doing?
So, I don't have as much memory of that as I would like to have. I know that we got that the great photographer Hero did the cover for it, for Crown. It was just following on the heels of
Baxter's.
Yeah.
And was it recorded a lot of the same way? You were a lot of overdubs, all that kind of stuff?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because the technology had caught up at
Yeah,
that time.
I mean, it was a quote-unquote modern recording. A bunch of great songs on it, and yeah. I wish I had more we could talk about it, because
Yeah, well, we'll get into that in another episode here. Okay.
But I did Crown of Creation. Yeah, Paul. He wanted to do something in 5, and so he had this little part of that song that's in 5/4 of all things. Who knows why? And I remember it was really difficult for me to play because I don't really swing in odd key signatures. But I mean, the 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1. Thanks, Paul. We got it done.
You got it done. Well, we'll look into that a little more in a future episode. Following up, Chris had several questions here. Do you prefer sitting while you're playing the guitar? And to follow up on that, what kind of chair makes it just right for playing acoustic guitar?
Right. So it would depend on the gig. I would never play electric guitar sitting down, unless for some reason I'm in an acoustic gig and for some reason I had dealt an electric guitar into my set, which I've done occasionally but very infrequently. Electric guitars, in my opinion, are meant to be playing standing up for a lot of reasons. I mean, a lot of the very ballistics of the instrument, the way your left hand moves the strings and stuff like that just doesn't happen when you're sitting down. If I was sitting in with somebody in an acoustic session, we'd probably again all be plugged in because that's the way we do acoustic music.
Right.
And like if I was sitting with Larry and Teresa, and it was their gig, because they always stand up, I'd stand up and do that.
You'd stand up even with the acoustic.
But I think that I'm a little more articulate as a player when I sit down. It's easier to sing standing up, but normally I would sit down. As far as a chair, I mean, you and I are sitting on these little stools here.
Yes. I love this stool.
Yeah, that's a fine specimen.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I like to have my feet on the ground. I mean, when people are putting shows together, if you're a setter, they prefer to have you on a stool because it's easier to light you. It's not my favorite way to do it.
You like your feet on the ground.
I like my feet on the ground.
You're grounded.
More or less.
All right. As I say, Chris had several questions in his letter, and of course, he's got a good head for asking these questions.
Chris, what a Chris he is.
He's asking you, what was Paul's role in the mix and the creative process when you were recording?
Oh, Paul was absolutely, in the forefront of a lot of this stuff with his songs. He pretty much knew exactly what he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it, and yeah.
Now, when you say Yorma with his songs, that brings up an interesting comment here, because we've talked about it before where you've said there was no one in the Jefferson Airplane telling you play this part, do this part. It kind of organically came together.
No, he would not. No, go ahead with your question.
So, as you say, Paul was definitely in the forefront with the mix for creative process for his songs. Now, if Marty had his song, would he be the top guy orchestrating it, or would Paul say something like, well, the progression could go like this or that? Was there...
I think, it's going to be fun when we get Jack into this to back me up or deny me. I'm sure Marty would have had his druthers.
So the direction pretty much come from the writer of the song.
Writer, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah, that being said, we always had a producer that managed to corral all this stuff. Somebody's got to run the
That's got to be, that's got to be in there. Again, Chris is talking about the chord progressions that Paul would use, and his preference for a 12-string guitar and the unique texture that he was able to get out of the songs. He says you'll see it in the intro of "If You Feel," and also when he was playing, he seemed to like a C tuning. And he says you can see that in "Have You Seen the Saucers?" And with the 12-string. Was that just a preference of his to do it that way? And also, how is it for you playing with someone when they're in a certain tuning like that? How does that reflect on what you would do?
I mean, I can't. I have nothing to say about that C tuning because I don't remember. Paul did use some alternative tunings. I don't remember that one, but that doesn't mean he didn't do it. Paul was a 12-string guitar player. Occasionally, later on, he would play a 6-string, but really, he wrote songs on the 12-string. He moved them into the band on the 12-string. He started out with that big acoustic guild, and then got one of those Rickenbacker things like McGuinn had, and played that. And so that was really an important part of the Airplane's early sound. And even later on, Paul, for the most part, played a 12-string guitar. That's what he's just comfortable doing.
And now that I'm checking my notes, it might have been an open G tuning, not a C.
Okay,
maybe that make more sense.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. Did the playing the 12-string go from the studio to the stage? Is that something he'd also play live?
Oh yeah,
with?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would he be switching from a 6-string to a 12-string during the show, or would he?
He played his 12-string more often than not.
More often than not.
I can't honestly at this point. I can't remember what song he would have played a 6-string on. I know that he had a 6-string and may have done that, but for the most part, he just either played that Guild 12-string or the Rickenbacker.
Would that take a lot of tuning to take a 12-string and put it into G tuning?
The simple answer is, in that era before tuners, yes.
Yes. Yeah. And how
Bing.
How was that being live and having to do that?
Well, back in those days, thank goodness, the audiences tend to have smoked so much pot and were so stoned that they thought tuning was another song.
Okay, I like that.
Whoa. No, I don't know. The audience are very tolerant of that back in those days. Audiences today wouldn't tolerate that kind of stuff. We got tuners now.
Yeah.
Even you have a tuner.
Oh yeah, and it's crucial.
It is crucial. It's more
I
than
remember
crucial.
some years ago, decades ago at this point, when I had promoted Country Joe in a string of shows here in Ohio, and he was talking about the old days before you guys had tuners. He said there was the pitchfork and
A tuning
fork. Yes,
I've still got mine.
that kind of thing. But he said how it was interesting that everybody would be trying to tune up to this thing, and like you didn't have that one. Everybody had their own kind of tuning thing to pull it together.
Yeah.
Before the tuners
It was
made
crazy.
it easier on things.
Yeah, I remember. Can't remember who it was. Might have been the very wise Chris Smither discussing what do we do before tuners, and they played out of tune.
Yeah. All right, you are in 1987. There goes the neighborhood. Show and Telluride. The questioner is saying you rode in on motorcycles
Did.
to the Oak Street Tavern, and he even recalls having a Stoli with you at the bar. When would that be? And
Well,
what
that
was
would have
was it a Hot Tuna show?
No,
or something?
no, it was a There Goes the Neighborhood show.
Oh yeah, that's right. There goes the neighborhood show. Yes. it's
I'm guessing probably 85.
Oh, now that 87, it's said here. Yeah, okay.
Huh? What is it?
87. Yeah.
87?
Yeah. So.
That's 87 sounds a little late to me, but anyway, yeah, I bought a Honda Nighthawk from this guy in some suburb of Denver, and I remember I rode it up to Telluride. Obviously, we had somebody else driving the equipment, and the rest of the band. Fantastic ride up, man, driving up there through the mountains, blah blah. I just bought the motorcycle out there, so I wasn't like traveling with my road gear, and I just had a jean jacket. So that was going up, and on the way down, it started to snow as it does up there. And I remember I pulled in. There was a convenience store at some point on the mountain, and I bought as many newspapers as they had, and freezer tape. And made myself a sort of like a makeshift road warrior rain suit.
Boy, I'd like to see that.
I remember anybody that rides motorcycles had this happen. I mean, I've got electric gloves today and stuff like that, but your hands get so cold that to pull the clutch back, you just have to lean back.
Well, you knew what to do in
I
that
guess.
situation.
Yeah, if I'd really known what to do, I wouldn't have been riding in the snow.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that Telluride is such a pretty place up there.
Yeah, it is.
And,
Absolutely.
Were you just playing like one of the clubs up there?
Oh, back in those days, probably.
Yeah. I know they got
That's-
the General Sheridan bar, which is like I remember going in there. It's just classic with all the old wood and all that stuff. Telluride was kind of a sleepy town back then. That got just kind of. It's no longer like that from what I
No, it
understand.
certainly is
It's
not.
really jumped
It
up.
certainly is not.
All right. You are given a writing credit on "And I Like It" from the Takes Off record, co-written with Marty.
Just for the music part.
Just for the music.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that's something. Sometimes when people talk about co-writing is thought of as that you wrote the lyrics, where writing is also writing the music for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a co-write doesn't specify. I think most people tend to think about lyrics, but it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
In a case like that, Yormi, is that something you developed this melody and then Marty hears it and says,
I think it just came out of a jam.
came out of a jam?
Yeah.
The music part?
Yeah.
And then he put lyrics to the jam?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we were probably just playing and he started singing and it started to look like a song, so we took some time to make it one.
Well, very cool. Very cool. Another one of our viewers is talking about the Point Little Head record. Excuse me. And and commenting on that again, one of the great live records that has been
That's a good one.
not overlooked, but
Yeah.
one of the top live records. And the question is, with all these different bands getting these new treatments of box sets from the vault where they put the whole concert on there, Buzz's Pointed Little Head, I think it's about 40 minutes long, as a
Right.
single LP would take at that time. But the question was that there had to be a lot of stuff in the vaults from that, and And I believe that record came from several sessions. That there was
several nights. Yeah,
several nights.
Yeah.
Yes. So, do you feel that somewhere there may be some tracks that got to be out there that from this?
The simple answer is I have no idea. You know, the band in terms of playing live, we're at our peak back then, so I'm sure we picked the best stuff to be on that record. I am not fond of outtakes. Many outtakes are outtakes because they're not as good. I know people that love, well, I got to hear this. I don't care about the mistakes. I care about the mistakes, you know. But yeah, best. I mean, like I said, the band was hot. I imagine, I would like to think that there's more stuff like that in the can, and maybe we'll get the people that handle the Airplane Legacy to look into that and see if there's anything that's actually suitable for release, or if they actually pick the best stuff and that is the best stuff.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know. It's quite possible.
Especially over multiple nights, you'd think there'd be a lot. And unfortunately, or, the record business, the art thing sometimes didn't matter as much as the constraint of a double record set's going to cost more and it's going to discourage some buyers from buying
I think
something
back
like
in those
that.
days, I'm sure that not everybody's up for a double record set. The other thing too is, you and I go way back in our listening things. Like when I get a record, those round flat things,
I love them.
as do I. I'll listen to side A, flip it over, dust it off, listen to side B, not picking up the needle, listening to my favorites. We all have favorite songs, but I really want to get the experience of what the artist who made the record is trying to give us, which is not picking my favorite songs, but actually listening to the whole thing. So for the most part, that's what I like to do. So what was the point of this digression?
The point of it was with the pointy little head and the extra tracks that might be there and
extra
stuff
tracks,
like that.
right. So yeah, so if there are extra tracks, it'd be neat to listen to them and see if they're up to the quality of the ones that we actually picked.
Right.
Because I don't see any reason, what's an outtake, I gotta hear it. No, you don't.
If it was a matter of time constraint and them not wanting to do a 2-record set, I could see that either. Now, I will mention this to you, Yorma, as recently I got the Who Live at Leeds, which I also consider one of the great top 10 live records of all time.
I agree.
And I put the Pointy Little Head right in there as well.
Yeah.
But they released, that came from the Isle of Wight show the Who did, and they released it with all, I think it's 33 songs or something, because they were performing a lot of Tommy on that time. And I'll tell you, it's a fantastic record, and it really was a case where they wanted to make it a 1-record set. And so you had so much material that they had to just decide to chew it up that way there. So in some cases, even with what you might find with the Blessed Pointed Head, is that it was just a matter of, well, we can't put everything on here, but there's a lot of great stuff there. So anyhow, well, unfortunately or fortunately, the time always flies when we do these things here, because I still had a few real good questions that I wanted to get to.
Why don't you pick one?
Let me pick one more here. I'll pick one more. And this one here, it comes from one of our viewers, and we spoke about Jeff Magnum at one of our podcasts. He was the bass player for the band called the Dead Boys, which was
hey Jeff.
I always used to say they were like the American Sex Pistols, because they were so big in the punk movement at the time. His question to you, Yorma, is he said Felix Pappalardi produced their second LP at the Criterion Studios in '78.
Cool.
And the record was called "We Have Come for Your Children," their second release.
Nice, very nice.
But he says during the recording process that Felix had mentioned several times that his most recent production was doing the Hot Tuna Double Dose record.
Correct.
And any memories of Felix as a producer and musician?
So I was coming back from Sweden. It might have been a speed skating thing, I don't remember. But anyway, and my ex-wife lived in Malmö. It's a little seaport town in southwest Sweden. And we stopped there to visit her folks, and then I was going to fly out of Copenhagen, so I heard that this Danish band called Gasoline, was playing. Cool band, by the way. And I knew somebody who was on production, so I got tickets to the show. Blah blah blah. And Felix had been working with them, and so we met each other. we just liked each other. You know, we got to talking about he says, if Hot Tunas could do another record, I'd really like to produce it. And I thought, because Felix was a great producer, wow, that seems like a great idea. So when we decided to do Double Dose, we got Felix to produce the sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was such a monumental character and huge talent, likable guy, great producer. And we had talked about, at some point during the period of time when, because we stayed in touch for a while, that Hot Tuna was not touring, about doing a trio band together with him. And unfortunately, his wife Gail shot him before that could happen, so that didn't happen. And
the end of a good band before it got started.
Yeah.
I remember you talking to me about this one time. Was Ansley Dunbar going to be in the mix as the drummer or something?
No, Ainsley was working with working with Paul and the Starship.
Okay.
It would have been one of Felix's drummer guys.
And when we talk about Felix, we talk about him as a producer and your friend and stuff, but he was also the great bass player from Mountain.
Oh, fabulous musician. I mean, think of it, but as a producer, think of the stuff that he did with Cream. And,
right.
Yeah, man.
Right. Yeah, so he had it all going on, as we like to say.
And way before that too. I mean, there's a huge history. Great loss to the musical community.
Well, you are unfortunately, or fortunately, we have gone through another program here, and we have to wrap it up. But I'll let people know when we get together for our next June podcast. Something I'd wanted to get to was talking to you about the great San Francisco venue, the Fillmore West, where the Jefferson Airplane played 42 shows there in 1966. So we'll be revisiting that when we get back together again.
Absolutely.
And talk to you about playing the Fillmore and also some of the great bands.
That's a lot of shows in one year.
That's a lot of shows in 1 year, and that's what I want to get to the bottom of, is talking about those and all the different lineups we had there. But once again, it's time for me to turn that song back on here, and I'm going to give it full volume. Hey, thanks for tuning in today to the Roads and Roads podcast.
Walking down that lonesome road set my soul on